Ladies and gentlemen, I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Now today we are going to have a look at the WZ113. Now this tank, when it was first into the game, it was quite a popular tank because of its DPM, and this tank has always been known really just for having great DPM, and that pretty much the highest DPM of any tier 10 heavy tank, and that's pretty much all it had. It's got a nice turret, but the biggest downfall with this tank was the traverse. It was absolutely poor, and over a number of years, less people have been playing the tank because of the traverse, and all it pretty much had was DPM. But now this tank has been buffed after 9.1, and guess what, guys? It's got traverse. Yes, it actually has traverse. So this tank is no longer all about the DPM. So the hit points, 2,300 hit points, the armor 260 on your turret, and 125 on your hull. Of course, certain angles you're going to get more, you're going to get less. You can get your turret sort of up to 300 mil, even over that. The hull doesn't have much armor, but the turret is very strong. Now it also has 3,400 DPM, which, as I've said, is pretty high for a tier 10 heavy tank. The reload is just 7.3 seconds. The penetration 255 on your APCR and 335 on your heat, 68 on your HE. Of course, you can get that up if you want to run it with calibrated shells. Me personally, I think 335 is enough to get through most things, and I like the DPM. I don't want to waste the DPM because this tank is known for its DPM. So if I run it with calibrated shells, I will be losing some DPM. Well, I think it copes with the rammer. So the damage, it's got 420 alpha on your APCR, 370 on your heat, and 500 on your HE. Aim time is 4 seconds, and the dispersion is 0.293. So not bad dispersion, but the aim time is pretty high. And it has 6 degrees of gun depression, and it goes 45 kilometers per hour. So yeah, I mean, Wargaming changed the tank. Wargaming, as I've said, it was all about just DPM. It was just about DPM, but now it's got that traverse. It has changed, in my opinion, it has changed the tank completely. You don't get stuck in the situations where you would normally get stuck because of that traverse. Now you're going to see here this T100. He's just gonna rush in. I mean, he is gonna rush in, and before this was buffed, before this tank was buffed, you would usually struggle. When a tank like the T100 Light pushes you, you really would struggle. I mean, yeah, we're still not going to be able to get around as quick as him because it's a T100 Light. But we're able to traverse much better than we was. And because we're actually, I know I've got this T100, so I don't actually want to angle so I'm side onto him. As you can see here, I want to make sure I'm at an angle, and that pays off because I didn't even get pen from this guy. That guy has like 3,400 or something DPM, and he wasn't able to penetrate me. So yeah, it's the best thing with this tank now. It is not just about the DPM. Yes, it's a very high DPM tank, 3,400 DPM, which is insane, but it's also got the turret armor, and it's also got the speed, and now it also has that traverse. So it's an all-round fantastic tank now, and I think a lot of people will be happy because a lot of people over the few months has kind of got bored of the tank because it was just boring. It was slow, and all it had was that DPM. So I expect a lot more people to play this tank now than what they was before the update. So we've managed, I mean, we've blocked 1,200 damage here. We've managed to block 1,200 damage, excuse me. And that's what this tank can still do. It can still block all these damage, all these shots, and you can really pump out that DPM. 3,400 DPM, almost 3,500 DPM. 7.3 seconds reload. So do bear that in mind when you're coming up against these tanks. You're always going to if you come up against a heavy tank or or maybe even some light tanks as well, and some medium tanks. You're always going to out DPM these guys, so bear that in mind, because sometimes you might have to trade shots, and if you do have to trade, make sure you pick those guys, the big guys, you know, the E100s, the IS7s, because you're just going to completely wreck them with your DPM. And now you've got the Traverse, it's a lot easier to turn, and it's a lot harder for these medium tanks to be able to circle you. So I definitely think it was a great buff. It really was a fantastic buff, and it's a buff that a lot of people have been asking, because it just got kind of stale and people kind of got bored with the WZ113. But I've always liked it, I've always enjoyed it, but now with the Traverse I am going to enjoy it much more. So let's just have a look. I mean, we've got one game left. Both of these were myself. The one you've just watched, I played on. This one I did on a stream last week. So always, if you're able to, obviously don't be caught out in the open. Even though, yeah, you've got that Traverse now, you don't really have that front plate armor. So it's definitely on a kind of ridge, but again, you don't have, if you're on a ridge, you got to be careful, because you don't have the gun depression to deal with tanks over that ridge. So yeah, I mean, pick your tanks wisely, get into positions where this tank will suit, and of course on a ridge, a small ridge like we are now pretty much, but always make sure you try to hide that hole. Excuse me. So we've blocked 560 damage at the minute, but there's still a long way to go. Now this T62, the best thing about this tank, that it comes up against medium tanks, and people that don't really know this tank kind of forget that it's got DPM. They kind of forget that it's got almost 3,500 DPM, and as I'm saying, if you put that into comparison, that's almost the same DPM as the Russian light tanks. This T62 has about 100 or so DPM more, and people seem to forget that, especially people in these medium tanks to start with. They tend to think, right, I've got more DPM than you, I'm just going to rush, and then they soon regret it, because they soon realize that your DPM is almost the same as these medium tanks, and that's what this tank has always been. But it was just a bit boring to play. I do admit it was a bit boring to play. So now we're going to push forward. Yes, I might take a shot from the T62, but that's fine, because I will be able to take him out. Now I'm going to get into a position where I can just wait for this Type 71, and again, yes, he's going to penetrate me, no problem whatsoever. It's a 4 versus 3. I'm going to get the shot. I've got the Kranwagen here as well. I didn't expect the Object 268 to come there, but luckily the Kranwagen has taken the attention of the Type, and he's now dead. But it is now a 3 versus 2, so it's a little bit we still could easily lose this. The Object is half hit points, the Chieftain is pretty much full hit points, so we don't want to go out and we don't want to just die because we want to get damage. We're just going to be patient. We're going to wait, and there is the Chieftain, so we're going to get the shot off. And I mean, just watch how quickly a couple of us will be able to deal with this Chieftain. Of course, I'm going to sit behind this Kranwagen, because he's got hit points and I haven't. So I'm going to let him take the shots, and I'm just going to get some damage into the Chieftain myself. So we're on 3k damage. We're on 3k damage now. Of course, I need to watch out for the Object 268. We're going to get that shot. He misses, and because he now misses, I know that I have a better reload than him, and I can just sit there and take the kill. So this is a kind of tank where you do pump up that damage very quickly. I mean, both of these games we've got 4k damage, nothing special, but we managed to get that damage very easily. So let me know your thoughts on the WZ113. I know it wasn't a popular tank. When it first came into the game, it was popular because of that DPM. As I've said, people kind of got bored with the tank. It could just become a little bit stale, but now Wargaming have buffed the Traverse. Let me know your thoughts on the tank. Is it a tank that you're going to play more often, or is it a tank that you still don't enjoy playing? Let me know in the comment below. But for now, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm meadsyreplays, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye bye.